for rehabilitation of hydrocarbon contamination soil. To present this one, I invite Dr. Meshari Al-Mutairi. He is a researcher at the School of Civil Engineering and Surveying, University of Portsmouth, UK. He is working as a consultant at a Kuwait Oil Company. I would like to mention 2 points here. The remediation is a very newly developed and expanding technology. The remediation, the term is used to describe a process based on biological technology which uses earthworms in improving degradation as well as eliminating contaminants in the contaminated soils. I would like to mention another 2 points about Dr. Meshari. Dr. Meshari Al-Mutairi is a Gold Prize recipient for his outstanding research work in environmental sciences, soil remediation from management of International Exhibition of Innovations, Geneva 2018. And I would also like to congratulate Dr. Meshari for his research work published very recently in a Spring Natural Journal, SP Applied Sciences. Really very big task. Let us give a good round of applause. And I welcome you, Dr. Meshari.
First of all, thank you. I would like to appreciate the coordinator and the organizer as well for this great event and great conference. Today we're going to highlight about the thermal remediation strategy for remediation of Kuwaiti oil contaminated soil. Unfortunately, we're going to discuss today about a sad story which called like Kuwaiti oil leak. Everyone knows that Kuwait environment suffered significant damage resulting from Iraq invasion in 1990. And the result of this destruction, huge quantities of crude oil had released, forming what we know as the oil lake. Actually, most of these polyaromatic or the hydrocarbon, it's leached the groundwater and it's affected our groundwater, even it's affected the air, and it's causing threat to the human and to the ecological system. Actually, there is different type of remediation. We have like bioremediation. We have okay, great, thank you. Okay, good. Actually, there is different type of remediation. There is a bioremediation, there is thermal remediation, and there is a physical remediation. Also, there is a mix-up between those remediation techniques. But most of the companies, they are interested with the bioremediation because the bioremediation is considered one of the cheapest methods. It's only using the microorganism to digest the hydrocarbon. But let's just stop at this point. Most of the disaster, what happened, for example, in China, okay, it's only 6 years, and in Russia, it's only 8 years. But what happened in Kuwait, it stayed for 30 years. So right now, we are not dealing with crude oil contamination. We are dealing with a withered oil contamination. That means most of the volatile and the semi-volatile had evaporated long times ago. That's why we need a special technique. If we go back in 1993, Kisser and Kuwait Oil Company, they conducted a small pilots, and they used at that time, the contamination, the age of the contamination, it's almost 3 years. They implemented 3 different types of remediation. They call piles, windrow, and blood farming. It's only using like such a microorganism. After 3 years, they concluded that the bioremediation or the bacteria can digest the contamination of limited to 20 or so to 20,000 milligram per kilogram, which are almost 2% and below. But there is one point that should be considered here. If the contamination, the age of the contamination is increased, okay, so that means at least biodegradation can be occurred, which makes sense. Otherwise, we will not find, the asphaltene in the street, because, once more withering, more difficult to microorganisms to digest. Okay, even more, the bacteria population is decreased, when the biodegradation or the age of the wither is increased. For 2,400 years back, let's go back to the Indian historical. when Alexander, he's invaded, I think he went to India through Victoria Gate, which is in Bombay, you know. At that time, he transferred the traditional of the Indian people, you know, we call the thermocompost. He take it from India to Greece. What the thermocompost? When he went there, it's a good story actually. When he went there, you know, he noticed that there is no landfill at that time. I'm not being a landfill. There is no any waste, okay? And even the growth of the plant is amazing. And they found that the people, imagine, before 2,400 years back, you know, they use the waste and they let the earthworm to digest and produce something we call casting. Okay, the casting, which is the outcome from the earthworms. And this casting, they use it to enhance the growth of the plants. You know, actually, personally, I had taken some benefit from the Indian historical as well. You know, they use something we call soup nuts. I don't know if you know the soup nuts. You know, the people in India, they don't have a shampoo, they don't have anything, and they use something from the plants. Okay, they call it soup nuts. You know, that's far away. Let's go back. Okay, so anyhow, but I published a paper for the soup nuts. It's very interesting. Anyhow, sorry. So let's go back to the thermal remediation. Thermal remediation, it's ex situ. In general, they use the earthworms to digest or to remove the hydrocarbon. That's it. Okay, and it's inexpensive. It's ex situ, and the production of the earthworms, it can remove to 20 to 60% of the waste, and also the weight of each earthworm is almost 0.5 gram, and it can digest almost equivalent to air weights. Okay, but it's produced the cost almost 50% of its own weight. Okay. Scope of the work. I will try, you know, to not make this a slide, you know, longer. I will try to summarize. I started for 3 years back. I tried to find the best way to enhance the process of the earthworm to digest the hydrocarbon. Okay, I started with the lab scale, which call it the mission scale. Then the pilot, we hopefully to go to commercial. Actually, you know, I used two different types of earthworms. One we call Fetida and Tetristis. Okay, these two earthworms we conducted with different concentration of oil contamination sand. Like we started with 1, 2, 3, and 4% of the contamination. We let this contamination happen, you know, in different days, 5 to 30 days. You know, we noticed that once we put these earthworms with the contamination sand, you know, if the contamination below 100%, which is below 10,000, it can be survived. But if the contamination is 30% and above, they are facing like big challenge, you know, to survive. So at that point, we did not stop. We tried to enhance the process of the earthworms, and we used the Fetida because the Fetida, based on this table, it's survived more than the Tetris. If you notice, most of them they are died, you know. And that's why we selected Fetida, and we also, you know, repeated the same things, but we focus about with higher contamination. And we found that after 150 days, the earthworms can digest almost 14%. Actually, in this time, or in this case, you know, the earthworms, they are play two different ways, directly and indirectly. Directly, they are digest. But indirectly, you know, there is some kind of bacteria in the soil which able to digest once you break down the hydrocarbon. Once you make the long chain of hydrocarbon smaller, that's what earthworms is doing. It's break down, so which is indirect way, the bacteria which exist in the soil, it can like digest, you know, the remaining of the contamination. And also, you know, I did like a mix up between these two worms, you know, for contamination 40 and the contamination 20,000 ppm. We found that if we mix up these two worms and we stay like for almost 150 days, we're gonna notice like a good reductions. But we need to know that this remediation or the bioremediation in general is not going to be successful if the contamination is above than 3%, which is 30,000 ppm. And we concluded that the earthworms play a significant role to protect the environment and to reduce the waste which should be goes to the landfill. Thank you so much, and I wish that I not take that much time.
Thank you, Dr. Meshari. Really wonderful presentation and very quick and a new innovative way and a new innovation it has come in front of